the Mulesoft, or maybe we are talking about the integration layer. Okay, so we would let us just talk about like what is an integration first of all. Okay, so by the name itself, it tells about, okay, you wanted to connect, or you want to integrate multiple systems. Okay, and why do you want to integrate multiple systems? Okay, so maybe you wanted to do some data transfer. So for that reason, for you to do the data transfer, you should definitely have a connection between those two systems, right? And who is going to establish that connection for you? This integration layer. Okay, and we are here to talk about one of the integration technologies, that is Mulesoft. Okay, if you see here on the right side, there is a modern way of looking at about the integration layer. He talks about moving the data between applications, okay, and enabling the automation of workflows via the triggers and actions. Okay, so what it tells about here, in this modern way of integration, we are looking at you connect data between applications and enabling the automation of workflows. And also, guys, whenever we build any solution, we don't want any manual interventions to happen. Everything should be an automated solution. That way, we need to think about designing of the solutions. Okay, and now everything, maybe you take any technology provider in the market, they are offering their tools or their solutions as software as a service or a platform as a service. Okay, we would talk deep, right? Maybe for Aruna's might be a bit new for her, but I think for others, I think Ishwar and Ashish, you guys are already in the integration or the technical background. It should be a cakewalk for you guys. It's okay, right? So
I'm tech savvy, Peter, so I understand most of the things.
Oh, perfect, perfect, Aruna. It's good to hear. Right. So all these solution providers, they offer their solutions as either software as a service or maybe the integration or the platform as a service. Okay. So right now our Mulesoft is coming in this layer, the integration platform as a service. Okay. And you can imagine without integration layer, I think whatever the number of connections or the number of layers that you need to follow, or for you to connect with multiple systems is going to be a huge, right? And okay, so think of the Mulesoft as an integration service bus layer, which is sitting in between. Okay. And there are multiple systems. For example, your e-commerce is there, or some of your storage system is there, or your maybe SAP or maybe the ERP system is there, right? So this ESP solution sitting in between would enable the connection between the e-commerce and CRM, or e-commerce and custom applications, right? So it would give you that flexibility to connect multiple systems, maybe at an easy way, I can say, without rewriting the complex or huge lines of code. No, that's not needed. You can just drag and drop to whichever system that you wanted to connect, and you can start exchanging the data. Okay, so that is the beautiful of this ESP layer. All right. So what is an ESP we're talking until now? So this enterprise service bus is basically an architecture. Okay. Somebody is giving you a set of principles. Okay. If you wanted to use your tool as an integration layer, you need to follow these principles. Okay. And it would integrate different applications by putting a common communication bus between them. That's what we have seen. This is a common communication bus. Using this bus, you can connect to Salesforce, Oracle, or maybe normal file system or an email server like that. Okay, this is only one common bus which would enable the data transfer among different types of systems or applications. All right. And also enable the applications to talk to the bus and typically decouple the systems from each other. So there is no tight interaction, or there is no tight layer established between these two. Okay, if at all, say for example, your e-commerce application is undergoing maintenance. Okay, so if without this ESB layer, what would have happened is whichever application or system that is trying to interact with this e-commerce system, everything to be shut down. Okay, whereas when you have this ESB layer in between, there is no need to shut down all the other applications. It is just that you stop this, do the maintenance, get it up. Okay, you can imagine the amount of maintenance that is undergoing here. All right, and typical, and also advantages, we move away from point-to-point integration. That is fine. That's what we're looking at. Perfect. And why do you have to use ESP? Okay, so nowadays ESP is backbone of their IT system or IT infrastructure. Okay, you see, the reducing the time to market for the new initiatives or the new feature for your product is a key role for us in the market. So whoever is the market players, right? So we wanted to introduce new features of a product into the market within very less time. So only in that way, or in that thought process, we are able to sustain the market. Okay, all right. And this Mulesoft is acting as an ESP layer. Okay, and what are the prerequisites for us to have before getting started with this training, guys? Okay, so I mean, often as part of my training sessions, I keep these questions from a lot of the students. So that's the reason I thought I'd put up the slide. Okay, so do we need to know languages like maybe the Java, .NET, or anything else like that as part of this one? Okay, so I recommend no, there is no need for us to undergo these trainings. Okay, and say if you're from QA, the testing background or some administration background, can I still learn Mulesoft? Yes, you can learn Mulesoft, guys. Okay. And what is that you need to best know before starting of the session? Nothing much engineered. I can say maybe you can do some groundwork on what is an ESP, what is Mulesoft, what are some of the common integration patterns that we have today available in the integration space, right? That should be enough for us to understand. And guys, this is one important point that, yeah, we will be having good amount of assignments as we progress or as we reach certain milestones in our training session. So I request all of us to definitely practice on those assignments and give us back your results, okay, or your the applications that you build, so that we will be evaluating them and we will take them forward. Okay, so those are prerequisites. I think with that, let's get started. Okay, so we have, what is a Mulesoft? Okay, so Mulesoft has been acquired by Salesforce a couple of years ago, and we now call it as a Salesforce company. And it is in the integration platform, and it also does the API management for us. We would see what is an API and all. Okay, and so the Mule is considered to be the core runtime engine of the Anypoint platform. We would see what is Anypoint platform as well. Okay, and it's actually built on top of maybe a lightweight Java-based ESB solution. Okay, and it would allow developers to connect applications together. That's fine. Sorry. And it enables the easy integration of existing systems, regardless of what is the underlying technology that you have got. Okay. You have a JMS, web services, SOAP-based integrations, REST-based integrations, some JDBC database integrations that you wanted to do and all. Yeah, it gives us that flexibility. Okay. All right. So this is an interesting slide, guys, about the course contents. Okay. So we are going to talk about what is an API-led connectivity. Okay, this is actually the framework or the concept what Mulesoft typically recommends all its maybe the customers or the clients, whoever is using the Mulesoft, to undergo this API-led connectivity approach. Okay, and how do you design your API? Okay, once you design your API, how do you typically build? Okay, and where you wanted to deploy that API and how you can access that API. Okay, as per the best practices, how you can structure your application. Okay, and how you can consume the web services. All right, and the best part is like how you can handle the errors. Okay, we don't want our application to go and fail in production and use a lot of trouble. No, we needed to design our applications in maybe a fail safe or a fail fast a condition, right? And we're going to talk about how you can control the message flows, and the module 10 is a very important session, guys. This is how you can write the data with transformations. So in our entire Mulesoft maybe implementations, we are going to use many data with transformations that we are going to write. Okay, right, and for this, guys, there is no need of we learning Java or C or whatever the other underlying technologies. No, Mulesoft has got its own database language, maybe the foundation kind of thing. So we will go through this one, right? And we're going to spend good amount of time in, I think, writing the database transformations and handling the errors. So these are the two things that are very important for us, right? And how you can connect to additional resources, like you want to do some Salesforce integrations or some databases or some file system. How you're going to do that, right? And here we're going to learn about processing the records. So that means you want to do the batch processing, right? So we have got a quite a good number of connectors or the components given by the Mulesoft for us to achieve this. We'll see about it. And yeah, the last module we are going to see about the different deployment models and what are the CI/CD framework, guys. Okay. And there's one more thing that I want to stress upon. I am following whatever the Mulesoft follows globally for its maybe the instructor-led training, guys. Okay, so this is the same course content that I'll be following, and it definitely we are going to have a very in-depth, training about all the components, guys. Okay, maybe any questions about this course, or you wanted to add anything like that, guys?
No, that's fine.
Perfect.
Peter, I have a question.
Okay, tell me, Aruna.
I was wondering, I live in Canada, and
Okay.
I searched for job opportunities for Mulesoft here. I mean, see that there are not too many opportunities here, but of course, in US there are a lot of opportunities.
Right.
The thing is, like, I was just wondering, is it because of the season? Like, I know that it's almost, I mean, it's September, right?
Yeah.
I was wondering if that is the reason why I don't see many opportunities, or do you have any idea if, there are good enough opportunities in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a couple of maybe the previous students from Canada location as well, but uh, I mean, I heard or I learned that, yeah, they have placed into the Mulesoft projects, but yeah, Canada has got, I searched a couple of months ago, I don't know, but not recently, but I do see good amount of openings in Canada location then, I don't know. But there should be a good market for Canada, because even nowadays I do see that maybe all the the projects or near shore, they're getting implemented in Canada location against the US, but it should be a good market for Canada region, Aruna.
Okay. Thanks, Peter.
Yeah. All right, let's proceed. Yeah, so I was talking about the API-led connectivity, right? So we'll not go deep into all the modules today. I would touch base the all the components or all the things that we're going to use, but I would definitely wanted to maybe give a maybe thought for you guys to maybe come back when we start the sessions, like what is this API-led connectivity and why is that the Mulesoft is recommending like that, okay? So yeah, I think these are common framework that you find across, right? You search anywhere. So the API-led connectivity, the Mulesoft typically talks about, hey, in any of your projects, start implementing 3 different layers of APIs, okay? He talks about system APIs. These are the ones which typically interact with uh, the core data, okay? The core data, wherever you have the source truth of the data in your organization. So you build a system APIs to get the data. You connect to them and get the data for you, okay? And no other APIs would have access to these core data systems layer, okay? So you get the data via system API and give to this process API layer. What he does, he typically adds a new value, or he does all the business logic implementation, everything, okay? And he's more like in the middle, he sits in the middle, okay? And give to the experience layer. This is the layer which would typically start interacting with all the end system, okay, or end customers or the end systems, and give them the data in whatever the format that they need, right? So the experience API, okay? Towards the left, if you see, there is something called the accessibility and ownership. Okay, who does own the system APIs layer? It's the common or the central IT guys who owns the system API, because we wouldn't be giving access to all the developers in the organization. No, to these systems or our data layer. Okay, it's only the selected group of team that will be implementing your system APIs in your organization. Okay, and you have got something called line of business or the dev IT, who does the process APIs and the experience layers. Okay, and the typical application development team, they both are again interrelated or correlated kind of thing, who does what about the experience API and process API. But it's only the central IT team who typically does your system API implementations for you. Okay. And now, guys, I would typically wanted to maybe take you through the tool what we are going to use. All right. I would want to stop the share and reshare my screen. All right. So this is the Anypoint platform that I was talking about. Okay. So this is where all except the development. Okay, for development, there's a separate tool you call something like Anypoint Studio. Except the development, remaining everything we are going to do here in this browser or in this Anypoint platform UI that you guys are seeing here. Okay, let me go here. Okay, so there is something called Design Center. Okay, so here is the place where you typically start creating or designing all your APIs. Okay, you can use the RAML, you can use Open API specification. These are the two specifications what the Mulesoft is recommended, the RAML and Open API specification. Okay, that's one thing. So you design your API, okay? And when once you design your API, there is something called exchange. So here is the place where, say, in your organization, what are all the assets that or the APIs that you guys have developed would come and sit under your organization name. Okay, and there are a quite a good number of maybe the connectors provided by Mulesoft. You can see here. And what Mulesoft does, guys, say for example, there is some maybe some tool or some application is maybe gaining traction in the market, and what this Mulesoft, he continuously observes the market and see, okay, say for example, SAP is gaining in the market, let me build a connector out of that and give it to the public. Okay, for example, guys. Okay, or say for example, you might have heard about the MongoDB. Okay, what he does, he continuously evaluates the market and sees all, maybe whoever is becoming a key player in the market, and we build a connector out of that. And for example, you guys can just quickly drag and drop this connector and start connecting to your MongoDB without writing many lines of code to connect to MongoDB. Okay, so that is what it is. So these are all the different connectors provided by Mulesoft. I think so far we have got everything. I mean everything in the sense, maybe whatever I am working for the client, right? With whatever the use that we got to maybe integrate, right? So we have got all the connectors available for us, guys. I think most recently we're having this robotic process or RPA templates as well. That's very recently released by the Mulesoft, right? So we have got all that even. Okay, so you can just drag and drop in your studio and start using them. Okay. That's one thing about the exchange. And let's go about the API manager. Okay, so this is the place where you create all your APIs. Okay, you create all your APIs in this API manager layer, and then you apply the securities or apply the policies to all your APIs. Okay, there are good number of policies that you can apply apply for all your APIs inside the Mulesoft layer, guys. Okay, so all that policies or all that API management, you can do it in API manager screen. Okay, and runtime manager, this let it pop up. One second, guys. So this is the place, the runtime manager is the place where you can start deploying all your applications that you developed. So for example, you developed an application and you did some local testing, and you wanted it to be deployed, right? So this is the place, the runtime manager is the place where you typically deploy your applications, and it is open for the other consumers to start consuming your application. Okay, That's one thing. And yeah, we do have something like API governance and some visualizer tools that you can. And guess the runtime manager is the place where you can decide about like how you wanted your application. You might have heard about maybe scaling, horizontal scaling or the vertical scaling, right? What do you mean by that is on what on how many instances your application you want your application to run, okay? And what is the amount of memory that you want to allocate to your application, right? I mean, in Mulesoft, we talk about workers and vCores, guys. We would talk deep, okay? And yeah, this is about the API governance where you wanted to track the maybe all your you can create different profiles and you can do all the governance aspect. Okay, that's one thing. And yeah, so the Anypoint Studio, right? So this is the tool where you use to develop for your development effort. Okay, the development. And guys, this is actually built, you might have heard about the Eclipse where we used for the Java development, right? So this is purely developed on top of the Eclipse, and this is more similarly to the Eclipse IDE. Okay, so you can actually start creating a new Mule project. Say, for example, I would want DB demo. Okay. So inside Mulesoft, everything is going to be like flows. Okay. Say, for example, you wanted, let's just look at the small, maybe we do have something like HTTP listener. What does it mean? Through this listener, any outsider can invoke this flow. Okay, that's one thing. And I was talking about the data wave transformation, right? So this is the place where you can typically start writing your maybe the code of, okay, say you are getting a request, maybe you want to create an employee in database. Okay, so when you want to create an employee, right, you might be getting some payload to create, right? So how do you want to play around with that payload, right? That is one such example. Okay, say for example, like you might have heard about like if else logic in your general maybe Java or other programming technologies, if else. So that is one thing, like maybe the choice component in Mulesoft, right? And say for example, we have got, you see the databases. Okay, so for example, you wanted to select data from a database. Okay, you can define about, let's connect. So there is for any of the external system that you wanted to interact, there is going to be a concept of connector, and using this connector, you can start integrating with it. Okay, you see, is it a Derby database? Is it a Microsoft SQL, MySQL, Oracle? What is it that you want to connect? Right, like that. You can start defining it, and you can have your all the host details. And say, for example, you want to do some Salesforce integrations. We have a connector for that, right? So all that, guys. So this is typically a place where you can start developing your application, and you can also start locally testing. And when you're done with it, right, and that is the time you can typically go and deploy to your Anypoint Platform runtime manager. All right. Any questions on this UI?
No.
Anypoint Studio? Perfect. And and what is that you need maybe when you decide to start uh, enrolling for this training, right? You just need to download the Anypoint Studio. What we are seeing here, Anypoint Studio. It's open source. You can download via the internet. Okay, and you just need to have uh, the access to the Anypoint platform. That is also free of cost. You can just get an access to Anypoint platform and download the Anypoint Studio to your local machines for us to get started. Anyhow, I'm going to cover in depth, or we'll give the instructions about how to do all that, but I'm just giving you a heads up. That's one thing. And usually this training would last for about maybe 30 hours, guys. Okay, 30 hours, right? We will take this time to cover all the contents that I've shown. And in between, as I said earlier, we are going to provide you with the assignments as well, so that you get hands-on on majority of the components that were discussed till then in our sessions. Okay. Yeah, we will be seeing about, like, we will do some Salesforce, like here I did for another demo. So we'll be talking about how you can do the Salesforce or Amazon S3 integrations, right? And some data synchronization, bidirectional data sync. And we also talk about the batch processing. Yeah, there are going to be a number of other application modules that we'll be building as part of this training. Okay.